Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Cardone Solutions Podcast. I am your host of the Cardone Solutions Podcast. My name is David Bradley, Senior Sales and Marketing Manager with Grant Cardone. What do we do on the Cardone Solutions Podcast? Well, we like to take Grant Cardone's content that's already out on the internet. This could be a blog post he's done, an article he's thrown up on LinkedIn, maybe an email that's gone out, a tweet, sometimes something up on the gram, and we're going to pull it out, we're going to dissect it, deconstruct it, put it back together, give you some measurable action ideas that you can take with you, and then go plug this stuff into your sales and your business and your life. Occasionally, I'll add a little bit of my own spin to it as well. And then once in a blue moon, like this episode, we're going to interview a fan of Grant's, someone that has been able to take Grant's content, his inspiration, his motivation, and go out there and do something, get a result, take some massive levels of action. 10x his business, 10x his life, right? So today, I get to talk to a new friend, somebody I met over on Facebook. His name is David Thurston. He's a member of the Cardone On Demand and Cardone University Users Group. And he was sharing with me a story about what his response was to the new COVID-19, how he took advantage of it, how he is expanding into this market and not contracting. Dave's got an amazing little ebook that he put together, or a pamphlet, if you will. How to Hit Your Monthly Quota in 6 Days is the subtitle, which, if we're giving out good advice, that might be a good regular title too, wouldn't you think? I mean, I'm using it to title the podcast. I think it's powerful. It's a big claim. It's very much in line with what we teach here. But it's awesome. He talks, we get into talking about what the difference is for him in his life between 2008 economic contraction, the new COVID situation, what he learned from Grant about how to approach it better this time. He also talks about why he was inspired to put this pamphlet and ebook together, how it's helped his colleagues in his industry. He also gave some great advice on how to handle speaking to and with decision makers when you're calling out. So if you make cold calls for a living, if talking on the phone is part of your deal, this is a great conversation with somebody who has used Grant Cardone's content and training, not just to outflow better, but to outflow better in this marketplace, and then also to leverage it as a way to serve others. Service is senior to selling. You know that. It's a core principle of ours here at Grant Cardone's office. We do principles here, not necessarily tactics, right? So I'm just going to let Dave take over from here. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy me, David Bradley, talking with the other Dave, David Thurston.
Okay, and we're live. So as you already heard me talk about a little bit, we're here with my good buddy, Dave Thurston. Dave's going to talk about sort of who he is, what he does. He's going to talk a little bit about his experiences with Grant Cardone. He's got a great closing story for us. It sounds like he's going to talk about what he believes is different between 2008 versus now, those two different recessions, and how he's approaching each one very differently. And then also a little bit about his pamphlet. So I'm just going to start with Dave. Dave, who are you? And what do you do?
Yeah. Right. Thanks for having me. I'm Dave Thurston. I went from being a mediocre sales guy to a top sales guy to a sales consultant now. So we're building up scripts, we're building up closing language, we're building up everything that we need for a company that found me, hired me, and I wouldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for Grant Cardone. So last time I went through this, I ordered 3 pizzas and laid on the couch for 3 weeks because I didn't have a game plan. I didn't know what to do. But because Grant laid it out. Yeah, go ahead.
That was your response to 2008, pizza and couch?
Yeah, I was like, I can't believe this is happening. I don't know what to do. No one stepped up and said, here's the game plan. Here's what you do. You got to take action. You got to get on it. Nobody said that. My dad worked in human resources, for a public utility company, right? So recession's not anything he was used to. There was nobody to lay out a game plan and say, hey, you can't sit still. You got to get up. You got to work through this. You got to push through it, and great things happen, and it is. So I owe Grant a huge debt of gratitude. I love to shake his hand someday and say thank you. So he changed my sales career, and he changed my whole career today.
Man, that's so awesome. So how did you find Grant? What's the story behind that? How'd you land on Grant Cardone?
Yeah, I took a sales job and I didn't want it. I just needed something to do. It was between jobs, and somebody called me and hired me, and I had no intention of staying in that role. I thought I'll do this for 2 weeks, collect the check, and move on. and just struggled and struggled and struggled. And then I had a really great director just tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, you ever heard of Grant Cardone?" I'm like, "No, what's that about?" And 6 months later, they called me at work. They called me Dave Cardone, just out of I just became like a disciple, really, But everything I did changed. So I
You said you had a great closing story. Does that come from that gig?
yeah, so it was there.
Yeah.
So we were with I can't say the name of the company just because I'm still under that provision, but it was a platform that hosted businesses and you sell online advertising. So it was online advertisement sales. I was talking to a mortgage broker, right? And so he says, "Oh, we like everything. We like your spiel, like everything, but we're just going to take what we get for free. We're not gonna pay for anything. We're just gonna take the free stuff." So what do you say to that? And everybody says that. Everybody wants the free stuff. So what do you say to that? So this is what I said. I go, "Look, what the hell kind of success story is that?" Right? Grant Cardone built $1 billion empire, right? And when you look back and say, "How'd you do that?" You got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you worked till midnight and you did it again and again and again for 10 years. That's how you get it done. Nobody has that kind of success story of like, "Oh yeah, I started a business and then we just took whatever came to us for free." Nobody has that story. So let's do this. Let's get you started today. Put your card on file and we'll start working together. So I call it the Cardone close.
And they did the deal.
They did the deal. So it wasn't the biggest deal that we had, but they did something versus just sitting there waiting to make things happen, waiting for things to happen on their own.
No, yeah, they caused something to happen. That's fantastic. So, what else have you found? So you've been following Grant for a while. You went through 08, 09, and it was a very different experience than now. What have you found to be the big differentiator between like your mindset versus from 08 and 09 to now?
Mhm. The biggest difference is just having somebody lay out a game plan and then getting to it. So, we got a phone call. Hey, nobody has jobs anymore, right? So I got on my computer and I just started writing down, this is what worked. I sent that to some of my coworkers. They started to implement that and saw the results right away. So then I made a generic version for all sales industries, not just ours, right? And that is now the pamphlet that you can get today for $6.99. And we'll put a link on that. So I put that together, and then I put that on my LinkedIn profile, and then that got seen, and nobody I was already talking to said, "Hey, we need help in this regard. Can you come help us out? We need you to build a script. We need to show us how to do this, right? Can you get on this for us?" Right? So now we're doing that. So yeah.
What's the name of the pamphlet? Because I love the title.
It's a great title. It's Selling in the COVID Climate. Because look, I got a great story. I mean, we went from working in an office to everybody moving at home and working from home, and my sales went up. My sales increased. I had my best start ever, right? So I wanted to share that. I wanted to, in the past, I would have hoarded that. I would have been like, "Don't tell people, it's my thing," But that doesn't get you anywhere. You got to share that. You got to put it out there. But I wouldn't have written it if Grant hadn't said, "Hey, you just got to write it. Don't worry about typos. Write it. Get it to market. Get it quick." So I sent it to an editor, and exactly what he said happened. Like, they get it caught up for days. Like, we just got it back now. I've had it up online, right, for 10 days now, but we just got it back today, which is way faster than I was expecting. But
Grant had that great response when people were talking about his typos. He's like, "It's a bestseller, not a best."
yeah, I love that. How
Yeah.
great is that? Without that kind of an inspiration, I wouldn't have had the courage to write it in the first place.
Now, I love the subtitle to the pamphlet. What is it?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, right. So it's how I hit my monthly sales quota in 6 selling days. 6 days in the COVID climate.
I make the big claim.
Yeah, it's huge. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So a lot of this is coming from your own personal experience, your own knowledge, your awareness of what it's going to take. But how much of Grant's inspiration per se is in here?
The concepts are all my concepts. The inspiration is 100% from Grant. Like, I wouldn't have done any of it, but all the content is mine. Like mental toughness, like how I developed that. I wouldn't have thought to think about things that way, and I wouldn't have thought to write them down and share them if it wasn't for Grant.
So totally Cardone inspired, if you will.
Yeah, but the content's original.
Yeah, of course. You had mentioned something about, like, before we started the call today, that you have a really great way for people to engage with decision makers.
Mhm. Yeah, once you get them on the phone, right? You know, if you just say, "Hey, this is Dave from such and such company," they're gonna hang up, right? So you got to have three things in place, right? We got to have connecting language. We got to get them fired up, and then you got to be that joy in their life. There's like a lot of bad news. Employees have bad news. Family have bad news, but you got to be the first person that gives them good news, right? So the first thing you got to do is just connect with them. It's like, "Hey, this is Dave," and just be a person, right? "Hey, there's a bunch of crazy stuff going on, right? How are you holding up?" But you know what? A lot of this crazy stuff is bullshit. This is hot air. This is going to pass. This is going to come and go as fast as it came, right? And talk to them like that. Like, people want to hear that, right? Now, I'm not saying like don't, go to
Like, I'm trying to, like, I'm going to be devil's advocate with you a little bit. So, like, you
yeah.
have, because I'm imagining somebody listening to this or watching this right now is thinking, like, well, what if that person you're talking to doesn't think it's bullshit? And are you coming in antagonistic? And is that going to, like, what has your experience been with using that language? Because connecting language, and you make a claim and you have a statement, and I would imagine it probably interrupts a pattern. Agree with you or not, it starts a conversation that has some real human interaction. Is that?
That is the great point. I'm so glad you brought that up, right? Because it's 50-50. Either somebody's on board with you or they're the opposite. And they're like, "What are you talking about? You're going to get everybody sick if you don't take this seriously," right? They're going to be offended, right? So and this comes with experience, right? Of just knowing who you're calling. If you're calling John, the construction worker, which side do you think he's on, right? He's probably clearly, and I'm guessing 90% of the time going, "You know what? Yeah, this is kind of hot air," right? So if you're calling, Sally, paper maker, right? And she's, "Hi, hello." Okay, she's not in that mentality, but you got about 3 seconds to figure that out. So that does come with a little bit of savvy, a little bit of experience, right? So in that case, when you got somebody on the phone, you think, "Oh man, they're not thinking this is going to be over quick. They are truly scared," right? So then you want to revert back to like, "Hey, there's a lot going on. How are you doing?" And just let them talk.
Right.
But don't go down that road. Don't push, to like, "Hey, this is bullshit. Let's get going," right? Don't go down that road. But just genuinely be like, "Hey, how are you doing? What is going on, man?"
And I think that's the key, is to actually, I was talking to a group of my clients yesterday, and they were looking for help and advice on how to talk on the phone, because they've been in face-to-face sales for so long, and now they're thrown into this Zoom world and phone world. And so I said, well, the first step you need to take in terms of being able to talk to people better on the phone is make sure you're listening.
That's 100% accurate. That's exactly what you got to do.
Don't talk.
Yeah, listen, right? And you want to think about how fast you can size somebody up, right? So if you're talking to somebody for 5 minutes and you're like, "Oh, I know where they're at," right? You want to cut that in half to 2.5 minutes. And like, if you've been doing this for years, you can need about 5 or 6 seconds just from like, "Hello, how are you?" versus "Hi." Like, those are two completely different calls.
Right?
So
Or
with experience, yes, exactly what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So, like if they say, "Hey, what do you want?" Like, that's probably going to be tougher to crack than if somebody was like, "Hey, how's it going?"
right. But I think coming in from a place of empathy is awesome. And I like
Yes.
that term, connecting language. I think that's solid. What was the second one again?
Yeah. Right. So then you got to get them fired up. Right. So after you connect, let them talk, really listen to them. You got to build some rapport, right? That can take 20 seconds. That can take 20 minutes. Right. But once you've got rapport, you want to start getting them fired up. Right. And then, you might even have to interrupt them and just stop them and take control of the conversation and go, "Look, I talked to one of two different kinds of people here. There's people running scared, looking for peanut butter and toilet paper, and there's people who know this is going to be over. They're preparing to get aggressive and go after market share. Let me show you." And then it's back to your script, back to your pitch. But you got to get them fired up. You got to be. Wait, say that again.
Are you pushing in or pulling back? What are you doing right now?
So what do you mean by that when you say pushing in or pulling back?
Well, when we talk to clients, if it's just a great question to ask, like, "Hey, So we're in this thing. Are you pushing into it or are you pulling back? And
Ooh.
it gives us a sort of a barometric pressure, if you will. And the great part about, regardless of their answer, we can help. You know, if the guys are not pulling back, we're in total contraction mode right now. Perfect. So do you want this to be spring break or spring training? Right. Or, you know, we're pushing in, which is like awesome. Okay. I've got some great techniques and great, you know, strategies that you can implement with your team to make sure that they're sharp as razors to go into this and push in and do it effectively. So like it opens up the call either way. So I love that you've got, you know, just getting them fired up. And I think asking those kind of questions like gets them into something. And then the third step is what?
Yeah, just bring a hardiness to this. You know, everybody's got bad news. The news is bad. You know, everything's bad. You know, everything that everybody has to say or share is usually bad. You know, so you want to be the guy that's like, you know what, here's what's good about it. I mean, at the end of the day, 7.7 billion people survived the COVID crisis today. We're winning. We're crushing. Humans are crushing this thing. Like we got numbers on our side, right? So you want to bring a hardiness, bring a light spirit to this. This will be over. This will be past. We've been through this before, you know, and in a very reasonable way. We need to talk about moving to this forward, either making you money or saving you money, whatever we're selling. Ah, love it.
Loud here.
I love it.
Yeah, we got wristbands, we got the whole 9 yards. It's just, and it's so important to like have that up close, handy, in arm's reach to just have something that you can, for number one, you.
Yeah.
Right? Like I would imagine that you benefit from coming in with that point of view more so than the client.
Yes. Yes.
They're all in that, right? And you can come in and have this positive side of things that makes you incredibly memorable on the call.
Yeah, and being memorable is huge. But I'm pumping them up, but I'm pumping myself up. You know, I'm going to make 100 calls today. If on 5 of those calls, I get to say, hey, this is going to be over. Let's go. Let's get aggressive. Like I'm having a good day. My day goes by fast. I mean, some of that's for me.
Right. So, and let's just talk about that for a second, because I know a lot of folks that listen to this are in sales and they're on the phone. And I talked about my clients earlier, they're kind of new to this, the phone aspect of it. How do you keep yourself motivated, engaged? And I mean, because if you're making, how many did you say? 100 calls?
Yesterday was 178 calls.
Okay. And of the 178, how many people did you actually converse with?
I had one call that was 35 minutes and 9 calls with decision makers. 4 of them were a total waste of time. And 3 or 4 of them may lead to something. We're going to follow up like crazy with them. But there was one call, it was a 35-minute call. Like I doubt that it will not turn out well.
So, but you have to you got to keep your energy level high too.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
And when you're having, and you obviously had, you know, like in baseball, you're going to strike out more than you're going to get a hit.
Right.
So what are you doing when you're in flow to just stay positive and motivated?
Yeah, I mean, it's about, you know, mental toughness. Like people tend to think in lists, right? You know, so you think about one thing that leads to another thing. Like, oh, I can't pay my credit card bill. I can't pay my car payment. I can't make my mortgage. Like you just made a list of things you can't do, right? You got to control that list. By default, your mind will give you your own list, okay? So you got to say like, look, I'm going to do the things I can get my commission check. I'm going to make my job work. I'm going to hit that, you know, number so I can pay off that credit card. You got to give yourself that list, but you can't just be a dreamer and go, I'm going to do that. You got to marry that to behaviors. I'm going to make enough dials to reach enough people to close enough sales so that I can get my commission check, right? So you got to tie behaviors to that list, right? I'm going to close enough deals to get a commission to pay my, you know, for my new car, right? I'm going to do whatever it takes so that I get the things done that will lead me to the things that I want.
I love it. So Grant talks a lot about the value of writing your goals and your dreams down every single day. And when I was in the auto industry, one of the things that I would do is when I was walking into work is I would have this statement of my end of day at the start of the day.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, hey, I'm so happy and grateful I sold 2 cars today because I got in front of 8 people. I went on 6 test drives. I wrote up 4 people and I sold 2 cars today. And I would go in there with that. But
yeah.
even when you're on commission in the car business, even if you're making six figures, I would sort of gamify the day a little bit. And I'd be like, okay, today is car payment day.
Right.
Like what
Nice.
I need to make enough to make the car payment, or today is utility bills day, or today is, whatever it was. And I would have like these different days of the week and things like that. Or it would be, this is, rent week or whatever. It would just like knowing that I could hit that. And then some days I'd be like, well, this is gravy week, or this is vacation money week, or this is, it was all like you could gamify that, and that would keep you motivated. So anytime you started crapping out, you're like, well, I'm just two more customers away from having this paid, or what have you. Babe Ruth was like, I'm always one hit.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, that's really important to me, is just to have that gamification out there, right? But I do that by just forming a list. I make sure I'm thinking about the right list. And when do you want to think about that? Right now. So we have bracelets made. They're coming. They'll be here May 15th. So the first 100 people that order the pamphlet, selling in the COVID climate, will get a free red bracelet that says "Right List" right now. Put that on your wrist. The second you start thinking about that wrong list, that other list, right? You look at your bracelet, you snap that, think about the right list right now.
Which is the next perfect question, which is, so if somebody wants the pamphlet, fastest, easiest way for them to get it?
We're on Smart Words, so you can just go to my LinkedIn page, go to David Thurston. Outliers is my publication company. So you'll see the link on there. So look me up on LinkedIn. We'll put a link on your podcast link if you're cool with that. And then I'll put a link for your podcast on my stuff, Facebook, Instagram. We'll build a little networking from there.
We've kind of covered it inadvertently, but what would be the number one reason why somebody has to get your pamphlet right now?
Because we're selling in the COVID climate, right? There's a very specific way that's working right now. Everybody I've shared this with has immediately called me back to say, oh my gosh, this changed my process. This is working.
Love it. Cool. So, hey, listen, man, I try and keep these as short and pithy as possible, but this has been a really cool conversation. And I think what I'd love to do with you, maybe if possible, is circle back in about 30 to 45 days, because we could be out of this. There's going to be a lot of states are starting to open up. Things are starting to, I don't even know if there's such a thing as back to normal. I think whatever normal we used to have is over.
Right.
And it's a buzzword, but we are in a new normal, and I don't know if that's going to go away anytime soon. So, but there's been some changes. And so I'd love to just come back in 45 days, revisit what's changing in the marketplace, what you're seeing, how your pamphlet's helping now.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. Let's do that. Specifically when we talk about connecting language, because it evolves week to week based on what the news is. If the news is kind of downtrodden, then we got to be more empathetic. If the news is upbeat, then we can get people fired up a little bit quicker.
Right. And my problem is I just don't watch
it. That's a gift. That might not be a problem.
I avoid it. The way I just figure if the fit is hitting the shan, somebody will let me know.
Yeah, right. I like to read my news. I don't, on whatever the headlines are on an app, because then there's no opinion. There's just, here's what's going on, big picture, but nobody's screaming, this is what it means.
If we can go in that direction for a moment, just because there's so for those of you listening, I know it'd be hard to see this, but last night I'm scrolling around because I live in California, and so there was all of this weird talk about the governor threatening to close all the beaches in the state of California. And so if anybody has any doubt as to whether or not the media is intentionally jacking with you and intentionally trying to lower your tone level, here's proof. On Google, on my phone, right? The headline reads, "Watch today, Governor Newsom holds press conference ordering all California beaches closed." When you click into that, the headline changes to "Governor Newsom holds press conference ordering all Orange County beaches to be closed." So big old WTF. And this is why I try not to pay attention to the news, because I know that more often than not, it's clickbait. And the ghost of Edward R. Murrow is doing cartwheels in his grave right now because there is no facts anymore, real facts that aren't agenda based. There's no data, and most of it is designed to get you in an emotional state so they can either sell you junk food or antidepressant medicine,
right,
or blood pressure medication or some junk. And it's like,
no, you're exactly right. Like,
loud, like, you can't, if you believe that, then you can't watch the news.
Yeah. Like, pull up any app that has news on it and scroll through. The third or fourth thing you see is, 0% in, interest on your credit card. It's like, what do they really care about? The news or that credit card that's paying for that advertising, right? So there's three things that happen. Like, so the governor says A, one side says he says B, the other side says he says C, and it's creating a polarization, but it's not because the media is over here and over there. It's because there's no independent analysis by people.
Yeah.
There's people saying, I agree with them, but there isn't that independent, well, what about this synthesis coming from people? And people, if you're going to watch the news, which I'm on board with you, just like, 6 months is going to go by. Nobody's going to care about that thing that happened today in 6 months. What happened 6 months ago today? I have no idea.
Right. Well, like, I remember when Kobe passed away, God bless him, I found out about that through Grant on Twitter.
Yeah, right.
So, I would rather somebody close to me that brings me in or I get looped in, and that to me is like, that's how I get the important stuff.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise,
right. No, totally agree. Totally on the same page. We need to get coffee, man.
Well, I'll make sure to bring a cup on our next call.
You got it.
So, okay, so this is David Thurston. They go to your LinkedIn page. Is it David or Dave?
It's David on LinkedIn. It's David Thurston. Outliers is a publication company. You'll see a big red and white sign that says, selling in the COVID climate, how I hit my sales quota in 6 selling days.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to do this again in about 45 days. Thank you guys for listening. And I'll wrap this up with the words of Uncle G. Be great, because nothing else pays.
So how was that? Was that good? Was that juicy? So as promised, you will find in the show notes links to Dave's pamphlet. If you want to connect with Dave on LinkedIn, you can do that as well. This is probably a good person to have around. I think we're going to have him back on. We may do a follow-up episode. After the initial recording, I found out that Dave also has some experience in stand-up comedy. So I think what we're probably going to do is use that to talk about leveraging humor into the close, which is one of Grant's rules for closing a deal. So I think that'll be perfect. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, we also have available to you free access to Cardone University. You can go to cardonesolutions.com/CardoneU free. That's cardonesolutions.com/Cardone, the letter U, free. Okay, and then also make sure you got Dave's pamphlet. And just as I wrapped up the conversation, I'm going to wrap up the podcast with this. Be great, because nothing else pays.